Now take a guess, which is Singapore's biggest shopping mall? Now when I meet friends there, they always complain they get lost in the car park because it's just so big. And that mall is of course VIVOCITY. Now I love Vivo City, I go there so often, and Vivo City has more than 1 million square feet of retail space. That is humongous. Vivo City is owned by MapleTree Commercial Trust, which is today's discussion point. And I actually show you in this video later why it actually owns one of the best assets in Singapore. Not only Vivo City, but one of the best business parks in Singapore. I'll also show you why MapleTree Commercial Trust is really something that is well run. And to start things with, this is a good chart that we can use to start the discussion points. On the left, you see net property income has actually been growing tremendously at a compounded annual growth rate of 14.7%. But of course, net property income can be driven by acquisition of assets. So the main thing that really benefits you as a unit investor is actually the right-hand side, distribution per unit. And you also realize that since IPO, it's been growing at 7.1% compounded annual growth rate, which means if you have invested 10 years ago, you've seen your dividends grow at a 7.1% pace. Fantastic, correct? Beats inflation, correct? So in today's video, I'll be sharing with you details on Vivo City. Not only that, the offices that MapleTree Commercial Trust owns. And in conclusion, I'll give you a summary whether it's worth to invest into MapleTree Commercial Trust today or not. Hi guys, welcome back. Now, MapleTree Commercial Trust is actually not difficult to understand. All its assets are based in Singapore. And of course, the crown jewel is Vivo City. Now, myself and my family, we go Vivo City quite often. And my son, come on here, Isaac. So, which part of Vivo City do you like the most?
The library.
Library, okay. We go to the library so often. There's like so many activities over there, and it's a really spacious place. But I'm actually not too sure if library actually pays any rent or not. So if anyone knows, do leave in the comment sections below. But of course, besides the library, Vivo City also has a humongous NTUC fair price, and it's newly developed. It's right at the basement and it's so spacious. If you haven't been there, go check it out. But besides that, let's touch on the financial figures of Vivo City and how much it contributes to MapleTree Commercial Trust. Now, I have this to show you over here. On the right hand side, circled in yellow, is actually the net property income delivered by Vivo City for last year. And what do you see over there? It's about $160 million, correct? And to put things in perspective, this is about 100 million more than Plaza Singapura, so that gives you the scale of how big Vivo City really is. A lot of people say that Vivo City is a mature mall, that maybe its best growth days are behind it. But that may not be true, because if you compare its growth rate, you realize that for the past 5 years, it's still been growing its net property income. 5 years ago, it's about 135 million, and right now, it's 160 million. So indeed, Vivo City has been growing in terms of its net property income. Now you may be thinking, what about COVID-19 situation, this circuit breaker situation? Would it impact the tenancy, the revenue that's coming from retail sales? Indeed, it's true. I've actually latest figures from its recent release in September. And what do we see over here? This arrow actually shows previously, last year only, Vivo City was almost 100% rented out. But as of now, it's only 97.9% committed in terms of tenant space. So indeed, there's 2% that's totally vacant right now, that's missing in terms of revenue to a unit holder. And not only that, data that suggests on tenant sales is actually not too good. It's been flattening out since July 2020, which means recovery back to 100% is still some distance away. I thought we'd be reaching it at this point, but no, it's still about the 80% mark in terms of tenant sales. Shopper traffic, about 50% of shopper traffic based on comparisons against last year. So indeed, there are concerns whether we can recover, revenue for tenants or not. And more than that, next year in 2021, you will see 13% of retail space up for renewal. And if worst case situation happens, some of them are unable to renew. That means that the tenant space is just going to have more vacancy. So in that, there are some points for concerns. But my thinking is this: Vivo City is indeed one of the best malls in Singapore. And a good proof of that is the ability to attract more of the best brands that are right out there. And one of the best I can think of is definitely Shake Shack. And Shake Shack is going to open. So in this screenshot over here, you realize that Shake Shack is going to open in Vivo City. It's a testament to how well management is running the show and attracting the best brands to the mall. And when the best brands are there, naturally the traffic will also follow. Now, before we go on to the second section, which is actually on offices, let me invite you to smash the like button so more people can see valuable content like this. And if you haven't subscribed, inviting you to press on subscribe, join our family, become more financially savvy. Now, in terms of offices, Mapletree does indeed have 3 key tower offices that they have held it since IPO days. And of course, 2 new business parks which I'll touch on slightly later. Now, these 3 offices, they are Anson, Mapletree Anson, they are Merrill Lynch Harbourfront, as well as PSA. The first 2, Merrill Lynch as well as Anson, have been doing quite well. Occupancy, no issues with it. As you can see in the yellow arrows, they have been growing quite steadily. The main issue is actually the one boxed up in red, PSA building. Now, I took notice from the portfolio occupancy, which I flashed up just now already. What I've boxed up in red again is PSA building's occupancy has fallen yet again. Now, from 91.3, which is actually not too fantastic, it's dropped to 87.9%. Now, is anyone scared who's moving out from there? But I think a very logical conclusion is PSA Corporation may be relinquishing some of its office space that they've been renting from PSA building itself, because if I look at the top 10 tenants, it's quite obvious they are the key tenant of PSA building itself. So if you have no further information, leave in the comment sections. I'll be keen to hear further thoughts, further information on that part, because I couldn't find too much from the annual reports itself. Now, the sexy part about Mapletree Commercial Trust is it owns these 2 business parks, MBC1 as well as MBC2. MBC1, which is Mapletree Business City 1, was acquired in August 2016. MBC2 is acquired in September 2019. And MBC2, if you don't really know, Google is there. So this is actually an image of Google. I actually been near that area. I've seen Google things there. And quite interestingly, I think technology firms are quite happy with business parks. In fact, if I were to run an MNC, I'll be thinking along lines of renting business parks instead of grade A offices in Shenton, because those cost about $10. And what I've seen in this is if you rent city fringe business parks like MBC1, MBC2, is about $5+, which means significant saving. I mean, moving forward, a lot of people are working from home. Everybody has kind of transited to that. And the real value of an office may not be the accessibility in town area itself anymore. So of course, more companies might think of using city fringe business parks like MBC1 and MBC2, which bodes well to long-term trends. Now, in this third section, I'll try to help you understand the real value of Mapletree Commercial Trust. And to start things with, I don't even remember this or not. This was mentioned in National Day Rally 2019 by PM Lee. He mentioned about this project, Greater Southern Waterfront Project. And in his speech, he mentioned about additional housing, additional commercial space, and if you take a close notice, this whole southern belt is actually where Vivo City as well as MBC1, MBC2 lie, which means these assets are bound to increase in value because government will deliver on their promise on developing that area up. So if you think long term, there is real value in the assets that MCT actually owns right now. And to give you further figures, this is actually a summary across the years in terms of price to book ratio. And what do we realize? That Mapletree Commercial Trust always trades above its book value. And if you compare price of $2, for example, for MCT, it means you're possibly buying at an average range, which is not expensive in a lot of perspective. And to give a further point of view also, this is actually a placement that was done in September 2019, because there was a time whereby MBC2 was actually acquired. And at that point of time, placement was done at $2.24. So if you compare $2 versus September 2019, placement was done at $2.24, it gives you certain perspective on the price of MCT. So hopefully that shed some light, and hopefully from this presentation, you do understand the assets that Mapletree Commercial Trust actually owns. Now, I would like to give further updates in terms of the retail space, where things are going. And this is actually something that I'd like to show you. September retail sales numbers have actually dropped, so it's quite sad. August seemed to have some revival, but September retail sales figures have dropped yet again. So if you own retail REITs, maybe the road to full recovery still has some road to go. And if you haven't seen this previous presentation, I'd like to introduce you to them, which is actually a presentation I did on CMT as well as Fraser and Boyd Trust. So that video really shows previous months what kind of retail figures were there, as well as these two REITs, how do they fare. So with that, I'd like to invite you to that video, and I'll see you in the future sharing. Take care and goodbye.